All right, I'm into it.
For the first of two interviews that I'm putting out this weekend, in the run-up to the big night, Monday, July 3rd, I'm very excited to have Joe Hastings, Hastings 3000, in the duplex with me.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, Joe. At the end of this interview, some Black Widows are likely to join us.
Who are they?
Who are they? And who are they, and why will they be joining us?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So the Black Widows and Hastings 3000
Yep.
are going on tour together here starting July 3rd in this year of 2017.
Yep, so this Monday night is the tour kickoff.
That's correct.
It's the pre-record release party because the record that we're going to be delving into today, Invasive Species, comes out October 10th.
That's correct, October
Yeah.
10th.
So at the end of the tour.
I'm going to do a number of tours
Yeah.
in succession.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I would say that would be right before kind of more of your bigger, longer tours.
So you've got a string of tours, and
Yeah.
that will culminate in the release of the record.
That's correct.
And we could hear songs from the record in today's episode. So
Absolutely.
just listen to this episode on repeat to get in the mood.
Absolutely.
Learn the words behind our voices.
Repetition.
Come
is-
along and
repetition is key. Really.
Yeah, and then come to the 7th Street entry
Yes, please do.
But
It should be
go-
pretty fun.
and go via where are Black Widows playing earlier that same night.
Okay, so Black Widows and Hastings 3000 are doing a two-venue
Yeah.
party, double thing that evening, and they're playing at Bryant Lake Bowl.
Bryant Lake Bowl,
And I
yeah.
think they're going to go on at about 7 or 8 o'clock
Yeah.
or so, and they're doing a crazy, what they're calling the Invasive Hot Dog Tour, which we're
Invasive
combining
Species.
Invasive Species, and they were going to release their two-song EP, or if you call it a two-song single,
Yep.
called March of the Human Hot Dog.
Yep, the
Which is a
B-side.
really hilarious,
It is a great,
and it's really, really forward-thinking music.
yeah. In
It's
fact,
awesome.
that's what the soundtrack to our initial conversation is right now. We can hear the
Fantastic.
March of the Human Hot Dog.
That's right.
The B-side to which, or the double A side, the other song on which single is Tortuga Island,
Yeah,
which
Tortuga,
if you watch the interview with Corinne and Pamela, it also comes out today. The genesis of that was a conversation that I had with them because I was asking them about their song Tortuga.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I was saying, did you know that there is a Tortuga Island in Spain?
Ooh, that's
so now they
fantastic,
have
right?
returned to Tortuga Island.
Ah, so it's the creatives sitting in the room with creatives.
Yeah. So
what
yeah.
comes of that, right? Great
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, what's going to happen today? What's going to come of this conversation?
That's a good question. I don't know. Not yet.
So the main thing that we're focusing on, of course, is Invasive Species, and I have my early copy just here. So I've got all the
Absolutely.
lyrics.
Well, that's the CD. That would be what I would consider to be kind of the questionable format.
Okay. Yeah.
I really wanted to have the vinyl in hand right now.
Right.
There was a little issue in France where it's being pressed, so it's taking a little longer. That is why.
Trust the French.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
supposed to
the
dislike
French
the French,
are,
aren't I?
they're busy smoking cigarettes. We'll get to that.
Well, do you have CDs and vinyl
Yeah.
on the tour?
And cassettes. So
And
I,
cassettes,
so basically, I have cassettes in hand.
Yeah.
But nobody has a cassette player anymore. But to me, that's the finest of all of the formats.
Yep.
For,
You're not alone in
for car
thinking that.
driving, that is. Like if you're in the car, it's hard to have, like Elvis had,
Yeah.
a vinyl player in your car.
So speaking of cars, when you're driving at the speed of sound,
Speed of light.
speed
right,
of
right.
light,
It's faster than the speed of sound.
you might well encounter Elvis, as is what happens in
Yes, right,
the preview video for Invasive Species.
Basically, what we've got going on is the video initially,
Yeah.
Speed of Light that you're referring to,
Yep.
was from the first record.
Yep.
And that was filmed in Badlands, mostly.
Okay. Yep.
And I don't remember how long and how many shoots we did. I think we did 5 or 6 shoots
Okay.
in the cities, at Pump and Munch, in fact, in St. Paul.
Oh yes.
And,
with you being the alien that
Yeah,
makes things
I turned it-
levitate.
yeah, I turned
Please
into
don't do
this,
that
yeah,
right now
yeah.
in close proximity.
Yeah, right.
It's too dangerous for that kind of thing.
I suppose, right?
Too small a room.
I wouldn't want to ruin any of these microphones. These are nice microphones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's
you were
Speed of Light video
shooting
was
that video.
Yeah, and so in kind of some sort of continuation of the film that we're kind of films, we're
Yeah.
trying to weave them together. Speed
Sure.
of Light, then in a way references Invasive Species
Yeah.
video that we've been shooting now 9 shoots for.
Right.
This is the newest video, and it has yet to be released. That
Okay.
will be released probably around the time of the actual release in September, October.
And you've been filming videos for Torn Apart and Living the Dream.
That's correct.
And
yeah.
another song.
Well, the 3 songs that we've been filming so far, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Torn Apart, Living the Dream, and Invasive Species, the second wave.
Second wave.
I was going to say the first wave, but that's not it.
Okay.
It's the second wave. That's the most recent video, and that's the one that we have the visuals for.
Okay, because
Like a little teaser.
Yeah, exactly. So you
Yeah.
put out a really short teaser.
Yeah.
In the teaser, there's you and there's Elvis.
You got it.
You're dueling.
Yeah.
By the end of the video, you and Elvis seem to have made up, and you're walking into the sunset
You got it.
together.
Yes.
So that's the first of many things that we're going to zoom in on and deconstruct. The duel that you have with Elvis,
Right.
and then the fact that this teaser video ends with you and Elvis, your best buddies now, and you're walking into the sunset in the desert.
Right.
So what's going on there, and what does that say about this new record?
So basically, the premise of that video, at least in a cryptic kind of mindset, is
Yeah.
I'm basically playing kind of a devil spirit who's trying to make Elvis fall from grace. I'm trying to tempt him into all of the things that our American society really embraces.
Okay.
You know, such as money and materialism and excess and
For you, Elvis,
misogyny in some respects, you know, and all the things that a lot of, you know, what you might call the sickness of American society is embodied in some of these visual images of that. So in a way, I'm the devil trying to pull Elvis' spirit and putting him through all of these different experiences.
are you dramatizing?
Pulling him to hell, really.
Are you dramatizing something that you feel did happen to Elvis, does happen to any rock icon? Or does Elvis for you represent a kind of something other than that? So Hastings 3000 is doing this thing to Elvis. Is that dramatizing an aspect of Elvis's actual life, or what it's like to be like a pop or rock icon?
Yeah, I believe so.
What does Elvis mean to you? Why Elvis, and why depict Elvis in this way?
Well, Elvis is, as you know, is one of these bigger than life characters.
Yeah.
And he started off as really a sweet, vulnerable, intelligent human, developing just music and just trying his best to be as earnest as possible, you know.
Yeah.
In a way, he, with fame and celebrity, he got corrupted.
Yeah.
In some levels.
Yeah.
You know, and living into some excesses. You hear some stories about him with a gun in the president and being put being like part of the drug administration, like he was an honorary inductee. Mm-hmm. So like all of these different things that happened to him during his life, you know, I think are just resonate with me in the sense of like, I wonder if he had free will in that aspect, or did he have choices that he really pushed forth, trying to go towards that?
Is it something about rock music, or is it something about American culture, or is it something about Western culture, or what is it that sets the scene for that battle within Elvis?
I think it's absolutely Western culture.
Western culture.
Yeah,
it's
Western
not,
culture.
So not just
Western
music.
culture now kind of is insidious in the sense that like that mindset of everything having monetary value to it is now creeping into like what you might call so-called third world countries.
Yeah.
And it's even more pervasive in those countries because they might see the value of this money system and want the things that materially you can gain from having money.
Right.
So, yeah, like exemplifying excess and the destruction of it is maybe a part of the underlying point to tearing down Elvis and from his graces, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It's some way of connecting those two things.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what you're doing in the video, and of course, Elvis is a very American icon, of course.
100%.
Like the epitome.
Yep.
And it's interesting hearing you talk about Western culture more broadly and about other cultures, because of course by now you've toured in many countries, and in particular Japan. The first record, A New Monster, was released in Japan through, what was the name of the record label?
It was Bare Ass Records and Chicken Katsu Records.
Yeah, that's the latter is the Japanese.
That's correct. Yeah, Chicken Katsu
label.
Records is based out of Okinawa.
Yeah, and
which is just a beautiful island south of the mainland Japan.
I remember you talking before about a particular show that you played there, and people, Japanese fans or just people who'd been at the show, would come up to you after the show and share what the performance had meant to them.
Yes.
In
absolutely.
detail, from like the gas mask to the wearing the sequin jacket, and they would share their thoughts on what it meant to them. The significance to that for you were highlighting before, was how reverential towards art you were experiencing that culture as being. We might see Elvis in your video and not read that much into it in this country, but these particular Japanese individuals at the show were coming up and saying, "Oh, this means this to me, this means this to me."
Yes.
And that was significant to you. So was there any aspects of what they were saying on that occasion or other occasions where they were hitting on something that you really intended to do? First question. And then related to that, were there any aspects of what they were reading into what you were doing that enabled you to recognize something that perhaps you weren't fully conscious of before?
Yeah, to answer your first question, when I played a number of shows in Japan, and they were just small, well, not all of them, but they were fun venues and whatnot. And then the people there, after the show, when I would sit down and kind of like talk with them and just be a part of what's going on, you're absolutely right. That what they did was they would pull me aside and they said, your gas mask, they would talk about that gas mask, or the presentation of how I entered the building, or what I was doing, I guess, in the sense of the performance. Yeah. But they related it to, like you said, art. They mentioned something about, like, we see that you're trying to create a concept of the degradation of society.
That's what they would say.
They were, I had a number of people say that they got it right away. Yeah. Like when I play shows in America, they're like, "Oh, look at that guy in the gas mask, cool." They don't think anything. Of course, there's people here that do the same thing. Yeah. But in Japan, it was much more prevalent with the amount of people that came up and said, "Hey, I really, I wonder what," they were asking me way more articulate questions regarding the significance of the concept of it.
And specific details.
And specific details that they may have noticed about the show. Yeah. The song, the idea of the lyrics supported by the sound and the texture. And at that time, I was playing pretty aggressive one-man band kind of style.
Yeah, exactly.
Rock and roll.
That's what the whole first record is.
Yeah, it's more raw, more like irreverent.
Yeah.
And in comparison to America, the Japanese culture that I experienced when I was there was just way more really appreciative of art, music, and culture, and their significance with culture and their connection to the world. Yeah. And Americans, I hate to generalize, but typically they're much more just all about America, and more about what they're doing inside America for themselves.
Yeah, and consuming something.
Absolutely.
I'll get the new Hastings 3000 record because it's cool.
Yeah,
I want it as part of my lifestyle.
That's why they get
You said in previous interviews that the industrial revolution could be seen as like a devolution.
100%,
And as production increases, you said that our environment kind of decreases or becomes more toxic, hence the idea of wearing the gas mask. That's ideally what you would like the response to the performance to be.
Yeah.
But it seems like these people went beyond what you were expecting, or beyond what you hoped for.
Yes, absolutely.
And was there anything like a lyric or an aspect of how you were playing as a one-man band, or an aspect of how you looked, that they picked up on where you thought, "Oh, even I hadn't really realized the significance of what I was doing with that"?
I don't think you ever really realize what the significance is unless you're really, really conscientious and think about it a lot. And
right.
As far as I'm concerned, trying to concentrate on significance of your own outputs in a way is just it's a selfish mindset. I think selflessness is very important.
Yeah.
For me, production meaning just making anything that creates questions is a great and noble effort, regardless whether it's received well or not. You know?
Yep.
If you're changing people's consciousness and minds and ideas into a positive way, then I think you're doing great, right? You know?
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to do that same path and hold that to be true. But at the same time, I'm human.
Yeah.
So what I'm arriving at here is this dichotomy of a performer wearing a gas mask who also is human and is anti-establishment in some respects, or anti-industrial revolution. Let's put it this way. If somebody is very successful at owning a construction company, what is that construction company really actually doing? You know, in America, they're basically plotting out a piece of land that has existed for thousands of years, manipulating it, changing it, taking resources from other places, constructing something for them to receive more resources from not only from that area that they just plotted, but all the people and all the things that are going to come in to give them their money to generate resources. So in a way, a construction company really is a deconstruction company. It's a, you know, it just, why? Why does it need to happen like that? Like,
it's deconstruction insofar as it's creating this very real damage
100%.
to the fabric of society, to the environment, quite possibly.
Right. It's all in support of humanity as opposed to in support of the environment. Now, when I say in support of humanity, I'm in support of humanity.
Yeah.
But I'm in support of humanity having the idea that when you're living in a high-rise or you're building cities all over the world, and the more cities you make, the more buildings you make, really, the more things you're destroying, really.
It's really interesting that you bring up the image of the high-rise.
Yeah.
That seems crucial to Invasive Species, to the record.
Yeah.
The final track is called Buildings Fall.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And there's... well, I'm getting you ready for the talk. And not only is the final track called Buildings Fall, but the idea of the rise and fall of man, the rise and fall of buildings, and then in Living the Dream, the lyric is, productive towers too big to fall over by noon. We'll dig into
give me some goosebumps here.
Nice.
That's good.
It's just like being in Japan again.
Yeah, it's astute. I think that's fantastic.
How planned was this recurring image of a high rise, tied up with the idea of the rise as the idea of the fall? So we've got these tall buildings being built, we've got buildings falling, we've got the rise and fall of buildings and of man. Are you consciously using this metaphor of buildings to get at something in a different way than you were in the previous record?
In regards to the previous record, I think the previous record was it was a little bit more about humans interacting with each other with this idea that they interact with a dichotomous conundrum, for lack of better put two words together here. But basically, on the first record, it was about how personally people will build things and destroy them, more so.
Okay.
Like Modern Man was one of the songs that I performed. When I performed, that was one of the songs in Japan that seemed to resonate with people, because they understood Modern Man and what that meant. And they're looking at this guy banging out, playing it with a gas mask. Like, that concept is fairly evident when you hear the lyric, when you see the image.
There you are, the autonomous, all-powerful, because you're performing a role.
Yeah,
as Hastings 3000.
Sure.
Especially like the sequin jacket component, very flash.
100%.
So this, I don't need anyone else. I'm this all-powerful, supreme being-esque character.
It. And that character is fallible, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, like he becomes so egotistical that they have very little self-knowledge and ability to grow. That's being dramatized.
Yeah, the character has to wear the gas mask because of his own doings.
Right. And on the one hand, it seems like Civilization, it seems powerful, and it's like, look at the means by which this creature continues to exist, and it's like power over the environment.
Yeah,
therefore,
absolutely.
but at the same time, it's like a hubristic, pathetic specimen as well.
Absolutely. Pathetic is really maybe the key word.
Not that I'm calling you pathetic, but
no.
That's the thing.
I feel it.
It's the character.
I'm there. Yeah, absolutely.
But the first record is called A New Monster, and you were a one-man band, which we'll get into this. Hastings 3000 for the tours related to this record. Hastings 3000 is not a one-man band.
Well, it depends upon the tour. So for this tour that I'm going on with the Black Widows, I have a 4-piece band with this one because of, I mean, just the practical sophistication of the instrumentation of this new record.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't sound as cool to me, or has the dimension that I want a live performance to have. Yeah. And, it wouldn't if you were just the if I was doing the one-man band, I would have to go more back to raw, straight, like kind of punk rock. Yeah. Although this record I would consider to be kind of a rock record, but it's for me. I tried to go in the studio and create a more raw record than the first record, where I was just pounding out drums, playing it totally live in the studio.
That isn't what happened.
And it did not. It came out completely different than what I thought. I, in fact, on many of the tracks, recorded 200-300 different instruments and I should say 200 or 300 tracks on each song.
Wow. And you say the studio, but there were studios in various different countries.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I recorded in maybe different places. And the reason why I went to these different countries and different places is because there's absolutely a consciousness change and a consciousness shift when you go to different cultures. Yeah. And it changes your whole philosophy and on a daily basis. Like when I was spending time in France, I was in Montpellier, which is south of France, and like literally everybody there, pretty much that I was hanging out with, and everybody I could see, didn't really seem to work. Yeah,
well, that's the way they don't have the vinyl ready.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it comes all the way around. You got it. Yep. Yep. But I found that recording in these different places made it so I was able to record different ways of sounds and different sounds that I would have not been able to do being in the States or in Minneapolis specifically, just recording in a studio. So it's very confining being in one room in a studio for your whole entire length of your whatever project you're working on, at least for me.
So that's really interesting. So in the first record, in A New Monster, like Hastings 3000, the character is the new monster.
You got it.
And it's this isolated character, self-aggrandizing, isolated character. Yeah. And it makes sense that this self-aggrandizing, isolated character would record in one place.
Yeah, right.
In this character's environment. Basically. Because it's like everyone is so detached from one another. So it's interesting now as Joe Hastings, as you want to evolve as a musician and as a human being, like you put yourself in these different contexts. What's been happening to the project, therefore, if it begins as performance art to some extent, where you're performing the role of a character and you're critiquing that character and what that character stands for? As a human being now, you want to explore different realms. And as a result, you've ended up with like a 4-piece band for this particular tour that you're about to kick off on Monday, for example. What else has happened? And let's imagine like Joe Hastings and Hastings 3000 dueling in the desert.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of what's happening, yeah? So growing up, evolving, as opposed to devolving, with the Hastings 3000 character, what's happened between the first and the second record?
Well, there was about 2 years between when I started working on this. So I released A New Monster in 2010. Yeah. And I think I toured for about 2 years, and then I worked on some visual aspects of it, like the Speed of Light video. Yeah. And we released all that. And it took me about 5 years to kind of develop this new record. But really, like, that 5 years was, like you said, it's exploring. It's exploring kind of the world and the idea of humanity even more. Getting angry at certain parts of American culture and the world culture, and then also loving it at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so for me that dichotomy is existent in almost everything, whether it be construction or deconstruction or evolution versus de-evolution.
Yeah. Deconstruction, the word can mean two different things. So before, when you were using it, it's like tearing something down.
Yeah, construction versus destruction, maybe is how I should say it, really. It's more polarizing, maybe.
But then deconstruction is a relevant word because you are taking these aspects of culture and deconstructing them. Is there as much deconstruction in that sense in Invasive Species? And what would you say you're deconstructing? You said that the first record, you're deconstructing the individual.
Yeah.
Whether it's like the rock star or the person who has this company, looking at what that,
what that actually means.
What that means.
Yeah, what does it mean to own a company that is like, I keep attacking the construction industry, right? But I'm not, per se, attacking the construction industry. I'm attacking the idea of capitalizing on resources is really what I'm talking about. It's how many people in America and around the world nowadays are a part of extreme capitalism, which is taking whatever exists and trying to squeeze as much resources out of it as you possibly can.